involved in pioneering experiments or helping companies engage in pioneering experiments to try lean in pretty well every sector you can imagine, from government to healthcare to construction to manufacturing to retailing. And through that, actually, we've learned that there's a lot more to lean. In fact, I think lean is a journey. And we've been on a very long journey, and we're still learning all the time, constantly facing complex questions and going back to the Toyota senseis and asking, well, why doesn't this quite work? And the Toyota sensei, of course, immediately replies with another question, not with the answer, and tells us, I'll ask you a question that provokes you to think in a different way about the challenge that you're trying to face. So initially, I think all of you, we start off by realizing that a lot of work has to be done to organize away from managing discrete activities to try to create flow in work. I mean, work is not configured that way, it's often not synchronized, it's often subject to multiple interruptions, and it's often subject to a completely chaotic forecast of demand. And so the first step, of course, is really to use the lean tools to begin to integrate steps together, tackling the obstacles to doing that, so that you begin to create flow. And you realize, of course, that the first step is to create stability, basic stability in all of the steps that you're trying to integrate. Without that, you get nowhere. Without that, you don't have a basis for improvement. So basic stability, and then linking steps, ideally back from the customer, steps one at a time, sorting out the obstacles to putting them in flow, and addressing the issues of interruptions and so on, and creating a visual management system to see the real time, so that you can respond to those interruptions quickly rather than wait for somebody else to come and sort them out for you. So basic stability, visual management, quickly leads to this situation where you get stability and you begin to get some compression of the time. But that's just the first step, of course. Then you're ready for some more serious experiments to improve the way the system works as a whole, the synchronization and the interruptions. And that's when you really get seriously into problem solving. And the problem solving, teaching problem solving, is the beginning of a really long journey. And that means a management system on the shop, in the teams and around the teams and across the plants, that is very different, that is focused on engaging people in creating stability, in creating flow, but also in making improvements, conducting experiments to reduce the amount of waste and so on in the process. And that management system leads you to realize that, in fact, the job of lean managers is actually to develop the capabilities of people in solving problems. It isn't just the answers to the specific questions that you're solving that is actually important. What's important is how you learn to use the scientific process to tackle even more complex problems and to tackle bigger parts of the system. And that learning actually is fundamental to the whole. That learning and capability building is fundamental to the whole evolution of lean. So you need a daily management system that makes all of that visible, that supports and develops the capabilities and so on. But that, of course, has to then be linked to, in some way, has to be linked to the setting of objectives at the top of the organization. And there you need to begin a dialogue, a framework for commonly describing the problem-solving process, the A3 process of describing in a very succinct way the experiment that you're conducting, and using that framework to make proposals, to closing the gaps that are identified by senior management, and a dialogue between those proposals and the gaps through a Hoshian management process to gradually align the activities with the business needs of the organization. So the Hoshin process is just the start. Then actually you realize that in fact top management, it really needs to start with top management. It cannot be sustained without top management. And so top management has to realize that in fact they're involved in a very different decision-making process. A decision-making process which is about understanding the performance capabilities of the key processes that deliver the results for customers. And involved in and finding and defining the gaps that need to be closed, and then articulating those down through the organization. So it's a very different decision-making process which we came to fairly late and described in the Lean Strategy book. And that different lean management process from the top also involves not just defining the goals and articulating the needs for the gaps to be closed, but it also means that senior management plays a very important role also in building the capabilities through successive experiments to solve these new problems and new questions. And that's a very big challenge for senior management and one of the major blockages. But it really reinforces the fact that in fact the results of lean are not simply the compression of time or the improved quality. All of those things are important. But the real benefits of lean are actually the capabilities to do new things and to iterate those quickly. So actually, as we're now in an existential crisis of the climate change and so on and all the other things that are going on, every product, every process is going to have to be fundamentally rethought to take account of the externalities that it currently creates. And so the scaling up of new design and develop both products and processes and systems to cope with the climate change is actually the key capabilities that are going to be necessary to scale those up. It's not about just the breakthrough ideas, it's about taking those breakthrough ideas through a succession of continuous improvements very quickly in quick time. And you can see that the lesson of the hybrid story at Toyota is exactly a case in point. Without the capabilities of challenging conventionally ideas that people believe you can't do, and actually finding new solutions to those, that's going to be the big challenge, I think, for the moment. So lean is all about developing the capabilities to tackle not only problems on the shop floor, but problems in design and engineering, but also in anticipating the needs of the future, of users of the future, and combining those into developing new solutions. So I think lean is a management system, in my view, that is essential in helping organizations meet the challenges of the climate change environment that we're in now, which is a very, very different set of circumstances than when we first encountered lean, when the question was really about competitiveness and how can we be competitive with other companies that have stolen a march on us by using a superior business system. Now it's all of us actually finding fundamentally new ways, and much more dramatically new ways than we even imagine at the moment, that will be necessary to survive this existential crisis. So I think lean is just actually coming into its own. And I think all of the experiments we've done to test it out, to learn how it works, to dig deeper into the understanding of lean, all of those things have been preparatory times for us designing organizations that can meet the challenges of the future. So all we did was carry out lots and lots of experiments and go back and understand why the answers that we thought would work were the wrong answers. Certainly lean turns conventional thinking upside down. And it's a lifetime of understanding that in fact you haven't got the answer, you've got a question, and you've got a set of questions, and you need to think very carefully and in a disciplined way using the scientific method to understand potential solutions and to test them out. So I think this is a journey, and I'm still on this journey.
Well,
Regain from attending many conferences and making many speeches to reflecting a bit, if you like, on all of the things that I've encountered on my journey. And I'm sure your journeys are several points in that process, and you're recognizing some of the things I'm saying. There's more to learn. That's my conclusion.
Thank you. Thank you. Daniel, thank you so much for that. That was inspiring, and I know I can speak for the group here that we're all, you know, in awe of what you said there. We're going to take it with us, you know, for the rest of our journeys. We at ILSSI, International Lean Six Sigma Institute, you know, a relatively new organisation. Nothing like your organisation, the Lean Enterprise Institute at lean.org. You were the founder of the Lean Enterprise Institute, and you know I tell everybody, go to lean.org, and they've got, you know, so much great information there. So you've probably got a paper on there which is sort of summarising what you've just said. I would have thought.
I think there probably are.
Yeah.
The one place to look, if you haven't looked, is a place called Planet Lean.
Planet
which
Lean.
is a lean magazine that appears about 3 times a week.
Yes.
With stories from around the Lean Global Network and beyond that it's been going now for several years. So there's a huge case study of case studies and stories.
Yes.
And some articles by people like Michael Ballet and David Brandt, myself and John Shook.
Yes.
So you can find a lot of inspiration there, and I would urge you to follow Planet Lean.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can read www.leanuk.org as well as
Okay.
lean.org in the States. But there's a wide network of material on Lean now.
Yeah.
Of varying qualities, and not everybody agrees, and that's
Yeah.
fine by me. But search, and you will find, I think, a lot of help and experience. And the one lesson I've learned is that the only things that stick are the things you do yourself. Not getting other people to do things for you doesn't work, doesn't last. And so actually it's what you learn by your experiments and your thought processes that is going to change you and change the way you behave wherever you go in the future. So consultants can help you learn about things. Learning actually how to do them, you have to do them yourself.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
But do go to Planet Lean. I think it's a really fantastic resource.
Thank you very much for your time, Daniel. We hope you stay in touch, and we and the group, of course, you know, are there as supporters, and we look forward to, you know, our next communication. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, well, have a good conference.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry I'll go on you, and I look forward to hearing from you at some point in the future. And good luck with your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye-bye.